I'm going to call Senate Education to order. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Buck, Senator Oñate, Senator Flores, Senator Hammond, Senator Neal, Senator Titus, Chair Lang.
So, I haven't heard a single cell phone ring, so I don't think I need to remind everyone to make sure they're on silent. We're going to go ahead and work session 3 bills. Then we're going to take a recess, and we'll come back later to possibly work session a few more bills. So we're going to work session AB 65, AB 264, and AB 285. So, Mr. Gaynor, will you go ahead and start the work session?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jen Sturm Gaynor, Committee Policy Analyst, and again, as nonpartisan staff, I can either advocate for or against any measure. Our first bill on work session today is Assembly Bill 65, which is sponsored by the Assembly Committee on Education on behalf of the Department of Education. We heard this bill on May 10th. The bill makes various changes related to education. The bill revises the definition of bullying and certain requirements for investigating and reporting instances of bullying, cyberbullying, and discrimination based on race. Furthermore, the bill requires the Superintendent of Public Instruction of Nevada's Department of Education, rather than the State Board of Education, to approve work-based learning programs. Finally, the bill makes changes relating to kindergarten and starting school, including requiring a child to be 5 years of age on or before August 1st, preceding a school year, in order to be admitted to kindergarten, 2, complete kindergarten, and 3, begin attending public school at 6 rather than 7 years of age. And we do have a proposed amendment for the committee's consideration. Chair Lang proposed an amendment, notwithstanding Nevada revised statutes 392.040 as amended by the bill, to 1, grandfather in children currently enrolled in pre-kindergarten who would reach age 5 after August 1st, but before the first day of school, and 2, allow children currently enrolled in school who successfully completed their grade to promote to the next grade. Madam Chair.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion. Amend and do pass? Senator Nate, yes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Senator Flores. Any discussion? Senator Titus.
Madam Chair, thank you very much, and I do appreciate the amendment, although I am still going to be a no on this vote. I have had a number of parents reach out to me concerning that indeed the lowering of the age especially affects those that are homeschooling the kids, and they feel that they should be the judge, and I too believe that a parent still needs to be in charge of when they feel a child needs to be ready for school. I think kids age at different and mature at different levels, so unfortunately I will be a no. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Titus. Anyone else? Senator Hammond.
Thank you. I've had several discussions, and I echo the same sentiment. Actually, I've had a lot of discussions with folks that I've been talking to for years, and that's their concern as well, that they like to keep that age at 7. I like everything else about the bill. I think there's a lot of stuff in there that we need to have, but at this point, I'm just going to be a no, and hopefully continue a discussion. Thank you.
Senator Buck.
Thank you, Chair Lang. I will support the bill today. I feel that our homeschool people can fill out the appropriate homeschool things, but the earlier we can get kids in school, the better. That is from my experience as a principal in a building, getting 7-year-olds that had 0 literacy skills. And it was very alarming because they're supposed to be entering 3rd grade with 0 literacy skills. So I'm going to support this bill.
Thank you, Senator Buck. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Nay. Okay, motion carries. Senator Buck and Senator Titus are noes. I'm sorry. I've had this problem all day long. Senator Hammond and Senator Titus are noes. And Senator Donate, will you carry this bill?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jen Sturm Gaynor, Committee Policy Analyst. The next bill on work session is Assembly Bill 264. which was presented by Assemblywoman Taylor at our last meeting on May 17th. The bill makes various changes relating to school absences due to the observance of religious holidays. In the case of such absences, pupils shall not be deprived of any award or award eligibility that is based on perfect attendance. School districts shall not count them towards certain reported absences for accountability, and they shall not impact annual accountability reports. A parent or legal guardian must provide notification in writing at least 3 days prior to the absence, and not more than 5 absences shall be approved. Finally, days on which a pupil is absent due to observance of a religious holiday must be credited toward required days of attendance if the absence was approved and if certain coursework requirements were completed. And there are no proposed amendments at this time, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll entertain a motion to amend and do pass. So moved. Or do pass.
So moved.
Moved, it's been moved by Senator Flores. Is there a second? Second by Senator Donate. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those, oh, I'm sorry.
Quick question for you. Did that include the amendment that allowed for if someone made a threat to the school?
Senator Taylor, or Assemblywoman Taylor. See, I told you it's been an all-day long thing.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Senator, for the question. There were some questions surrounding, that was the intention, so thank you for remembering. There are some questions surrounding what would be identified as the threat, who makes that call, and at what level. And so there are still some things that needed to be worked out with that, and so we pulled it until we can work through those things. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then I'll be in support of this.
Thank you, Senator.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Will you please take that, Senator Buck?
Thank you, Chair Lang. Jen Sturm Gaynor, Committee Policy Analyst. Next bill on work session today is Assembly Bill 285, which was presented by Assemblywoman Taylor at our last meeting on May 17th. Just to quickly go over, we've had several amendments, as you can see on the bill page. It's also been posted on Nellis and available here in the committee room. I'm just going to go through these really quickly. So the first proposed amendment would include additional topics and processes that must be included in the plan of progressive discipline. 2, require the plan to be developed with input from school counselors, social workers, psychologists, or behavior analysts. 3, include additional detail that must be included in the plan to offer a pupil who is removed from a classroom or the premises of a public school education services, and a representative sample must be submitted to certain entities. Provide for the suspension, expulsion, or permanent expulsion of certain pupils who are at least 11 years old, rather than pupils who are less than 11. Provide that pupils less than age 11 may be suspended in certain circumstances and upon review and approval by certain school officials. Generally prohibit the expulsion or permanent expulsion of a pupil who is less than 11. Provide that a pupil who commits certain actions may only be suspended if the child is less than 6 years old after review and approval from the governing board. Allow for a school in extraordinary circumstances to request an exception to related prohibitions from the Board of Trustees of the school district. Require certain pupils who are suspended or expelled to enroll in an in-person alternative education program. Provide that a pupil deemed an habitual disciplinary problem must be at least 11 and requires written evidence showing reasonable efforts were made to develop a behavior plan. Require a progressive discipline plan be complete for a pupil deemed an habitual disciplinary problem. 12, require NDE to develop examples of progressive discipline plans based on restorative justice and include reinstatement guidelines. Remove section 6 sub 2 concerning the presumption that a pupil's behavior is caused by homelessness unless evidence indicates otherwise, and require the principal and others to consider whether homelessness or foster care contributed to a pupil's behavior. 14, expand the data collection, include additional metrics. 15, require this data be submitted to the Department of Education, be included in the statewide system of accountability, and as part of the annual report of accountability. Change the process from before to upon the removal of a pupil from a classroom or other premises at a public school, so the school principal is not required to contact the local educational agency liaison for homeless pupils. 17, specify that federal law must be followed. For example, when disciplining a pupil with a disability, a school must follow the Individuals with Disabilities Act. And 18 through 21 are provisions provided by the bill sponsor from Assembly Bill 330. Number 18, require the superintendent of each school district and the administrative head of each charter school and university school for profoundly gifted pupils to include provisions that authorize the temporary removal of a pupil from a classroom or other premises of a public school pursuant to NRS 392.4645, with a plan to provide for the restorative discipline of students and on-site review of disciplinary decisions. Require that such entities issue a revised plan each year that reflects comments provided by school personnel, and require the principal to post and distribute the plan. 20, require that if the state superintendent determines that the data collected pursuant to NRS 392.462 indicates disproportionality in disciplinary actions or is insufficient to determine if disproportionality exists, the superintendent must issue a notice to such entities listing the areas of concern and providing a corrective period to implement a framework to reduce such disproportionality. And if the entity fails to make measurable progress, the superintendent may issue an alternative plan for mandatory implementation. 21, require that upon the review of a pupil's record of discipline, if the principal of the school determines that certain habitual disciplinary problems do not apply to the pupil, a teacher who submitted a request for the review may appeal that determination. And finally, it makes additional conforming changes to include charter schools and university schools for profoundly gifted pupils in various sections through the bill. Madam Chair.
Thank you. Are there, first of all, I wanted you to come up here because I know you made some significant changes to your bill, and I didn't know if any members of the committee might have questions. Senator Neal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So on the before to upon the removal from the classroom, that they don't have to notify the liaison for homeless pupils, can you explain that?
Yes, Madam Chair, if I may go directly
Let's
to the
try.
Senator. Thank you, Senator Neal. Yeah, the overall change is that they have to notify the homeless or foster, same thing. We added the foster piece to it in the amendment earlier. They have to notify the homeless or foster liaison on their campus and have that conversation. And then we did it upon it, so because part of the issue is that if something happens, let's say if it's a foster youth or a homeless youth or any youth, quite frankly, and it's at 2:00 and school ends at 2:30. You need to be able to have that conversation. If it's before, then they can't do anything in terms of beginning to correct that behavior, providing support for that student until after that, which it might be the next day. But instead of, if you do it upon that, this was going to happen, then you still need to contact, same thing has to apply. You still contact that person on your campus to see if that behavior was influenced because of their homelessness or their foster care. That's why we changed that word.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So on the requiring the superintendent of each school and the administrative head of each charter to include the provisions that authorize the temporary removal from the classroom or other premises. Help me walk through that one, because I watched the hearing on the other side, right? And I believe that that particular provision was disliked in entirety, wasn't it?
If I may, Madam Chair.
You go, Chair.
Thank you, Senator. The change in that, actually, first of all, we changed that provision that you can remove a student, but you have to give first of all, when you remove that student, you have to you're meeting with that student, that pastor, that pastor. If they're on their team, I guess you could, right? The student, the parent, the teacher, the social worker or counselor, whomever is involved in that MTSS team, to explain what the child did, why they're being removed, and so on. That still needs to happen. The change, we changed that in the bill. The change that you're reading is that inadvertently, charter schools and the university school for the profoundly gifted they were not included in those provisions of this bill. So that's why when we went back through it, and when comparing, as I said before, we're going to look at some provisions of AB 330, because I knew that wasn't going forward. It came to my attention, like, I saw that, these provisions aren't being required of those schools either. So yeah, so those schools, it's the same. You can still remove a student, but you can't just remove a student. You can remove a student before, but you can't remove a student without giving them any knowledge. You can't just remove a student randomly, and so on. The concern from before, from the primary concern you had from the meeting before, had to do with students under the age of 6. Under the age of 11, all the way down into 6 years old. We put that age back up to 11. So that addressed that overall issue. The thing that you see now is including the charter schools and the university profoundly gifted school. Do I need to say
Okay.
that differently? I don't think I did a
No,
good job
I
of
think-
answering your question, Senator. I'm sorry.
Because it really is just the part about requiring the superintendent of each school to authorize the temporary removal. So I remember this discussion on that was, number one, the superintendent is not directly running the school. Number two, the timeline in which that superintendent would then engage to allow that removal to be effective were some of the complaints. So just walk me through the real life scenario, how the superintendent will then engage and the time factor on this.
If you tell me where you're reading, I can jump in right
So
where you
it's
are.
I'm not just reading from the work session doc, because I can't find it in the.
It's number
it's
18
number
on the
18
amendment.
On the list.
On the grid?
On the what?
On the,
On the work
on my-
session document.
on the work page, that's the, I was just looking through your life, so one thing I didn't bring is, thank you. Thank you, Holly. Okay. Require superintendent. Thank you, Holly. Yeah, it says that they have to include provisions that authorize the temporary removal of a student from a classroom or other premises. So whether the superintendent should be the one to include those provisions, to authorize that. They don't do it. They write the provisions, right? They're working with the school, with the board of trustees. They don't actually do it themselves because, as you're right, they're not in the school. So this is not intended that you can't remove a child from a school without talking to the superintendent. That would be prohibitive. What this says is that superintendent, that they have to authorize, they have to provide the provisions that authorize that. And we do want that happening at that level. In fact, in Washington, it happens with the superintendent and the board of trustees. So yeah, they don't do it, but this is how we're going to do it. Based upon these rules, they have to put that in place so they aren't making them up at the school level.
Any further questions? On one, Senator Flores.
And thank you again. And I may be asking a very innocent question, but I need to understand that before I go any deeper. I'm looking at the amendment document. I'm looking at number 10. It says, provide that a pupil deemed a habitual disciplinary problem must be at least 11 years old and require written evidence showing reasonable efforts were made to develop a behavioral plan. Can you just walk me with at what triggers a habitual disciplinary problem? What is the definition of that?
It's actually in the original bill. So let me go back to that and find it. It's already defined. It's already laid out here. I'll find it. Let's see. Section 6.
Section 6, I'm being told.
I'm being told too. Yeah, right. We should ask. He wrote most of this, so shoot.
I should have known better.
Yeah, I should have just referred to him, Senator. I'm sorry, and Angie Taylor for the record. I guess that's clear. I'm the only one sitting here.
Legal, do you have that? We'll have our legal answer that, Assemblywoman.
Okay, thank you. I'm reading.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the process for declaring a pupil a habitual disciplinary problem is in NRS 392-4655, that's amended by Section 6 of the bill. It generally requires evidence that documents that within a school year the pupil has threatened or extorted or attempted to threaten or extort another pupil or a teacher 2 or more times, or a record of 5 significant suspensions from school for any reason, that the pupil has not entered into a plan of behavior, that the pupil was not determined to have their behavior caused by homelessness. So the core of the declaration is the idea that the pupil has either 2 or more times extorted or threatened a pupil or a teacher, or has had 5 or more significant suspensions within a school year.
Thank you. Any
Thank you,
questions,
Counsel.
Senator Flores?
Great. And then the behavioral plan is designed by the school?
The behavior plan, it's outlined as to what it should look like as a whole by NDE, and then for each individual student, they're going to have the behavior plan that looks like the senator is pointing out to you. Each individual student will have their own behavioral plan, but the tenets of it are outlined in the bill because every individual student's going to have a different situation.
Understood. And then looking at number 9, there in the work session document, it says require certain pupils who are suspended or expelled. Just if you could walk me through who the certain suspended, who this would trigger that they have to enroll in an in-person alternative education program.
Yeah, it's within the tenets of the bill that says who can be suspended or expelled and what things need to happen. The intention of this is to say that if you are suspended or expelled, part of our, first of all, by federal law, and what we want, we still have to provide the education for those students. And this is saying they have to have an in-person option for that. We can't say, okay, you're going to be suspended for a month and we're going to put you online. Each schools have to say that there's an in-person option for that student who is suspended or expelled.
Thank you. And what I'm trying to get at is the way I'm reading it is there's going to be some who are suspended or expelled that we will not require that we provide an alternative in-person education program. So are you saying that anybody, based on number 9 here, anybody who is suspended or expelled will get that option of an in-person alternative education program? Or are there certain students that could be suspended and expelled that would not be captured, and those we do not have to offer an in-person? I just want to know if that in-person alternative education program has to be provided as an option to all who are suspended or expelled, or if we're creating some categories where these here, we're carving them out and we don't have to provide it to them.
No, we have to provide it to everyone.
And Mr. Asher can clarify for us, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Asher Killian, Committee Counsel. So if you look in, this is page 21 of the mock-up, which is section 7, amending NRS 392-466, subsection 6. The new paragraph C is the language concerning this idea. In the existing law, there was the idea that if a pupil is expelled, and under Nevada law, an expulsion is removing a pupil from school for more than 1 semester, or if they were suspended for at least 1 semester, that triggers a requirement for some form of alternative educational services to be provided to the pupil. Under existing law, that's either a requirement for the pupil to enroll in a private school or to enroll in a program of independent study or a program of distance education that's appropriate for the pupil. The amendment adds a paragraph 6 to that subsection. So for one of these pupils who is removed from school for at least a semester, they may, instead of enrolling in a private school or a program of independent study, enroll in a program of alternative education provided by a school district, and then it requires the school districts to provide, either alone or in combination with other school districts, these programs of alternative education for pupils that have been removed for at least 1 semester.
Again, the intention is to make sure there's an in-person option.
And I appreciate that. I was only concerned because as I was reading it there, that there would be a carve out and saying, and I am not suggesting the kid that does A, B, C, and D, there's going to be an in-person option for them, but those who do X, Y, Z, no in-person option for them. And I just wanted to make sure that that's not what we were doing here. Thank you.
Was that clarified for you, Senator? Was that clarified?
Yes, it was. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Neal?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I know we had talked about this because I had concerns in CCSD that, Peterson Behavioral, is that an alternate in-person option? Because that's not real, right? Like, there's no actual education going on. There's no teaching going on. No one's learning anything. And so how is this, does that open that door for them to go to that particular school, well, really, it's considered a program under the superintendent. It's not a local school precinct. It's considered a program under the superintendent. Is this included in that? Because I know we don't have any time, but that has to be cleaned up, right? I mean, first of all, personally, I think that's an ongoing lawsuit because I don't believe there's any education that's going on in that building. And I'm afraid for another 11-year-old or potentially a 7-year-old finding themselves there under these circumstances of this bill, right? Because there's no supervision and there's no education going on, and it's on a Chromebook. Whatever they're doing over there is not, I would consider, an alternate in-person education model that meets the level of what the federal law intends.
It's the standard.
Okay.
No, I hear what you're saying. No, thank you, Senator. I hear what you're saying, and I've also heard some pretty deep concerns about that. That is intention. The intention of that should be that is an educational opportunity there, and if it is occurring, as I've been reported in some cases, and as you and I had a really detailed conversation about it, then it isn't being done correctly. That should be an educational opportunity, and it sounds as though that needs to get better.
Okay, seeing no further questions, I will be open for a motion.
So moved.
It's been amended and due pass on Assembly Bill 285. Is there a second? Second for Senator Hammond. Any discussion? Senator Titus.
Thank you. I just want to comment that I appreciate all the discussions. I appreciate the amendments. I appreciate the concerns from the parents, from the educators. I'm going to support this bill because I believe we need to have some start at this, and I know a lot of work has gone into it. I also just want to go on the record that I'm disappointed that our governor's AB 330 was not given the same time, but I know that this bill is going to fill in some of those gaps and some of the things that we had hoped to do. So I applaud all those who have been involved in this bill and trying to work out and really protect and not throw any child away. But at the same time, those that are in school need to feel safe. Our educators need to be safe, but we can't just not help the kids that have some of these issues. So thank you very much for all the hard work.
Thank you, Senator Titus. Anyone else? Senator Buck.
Thank you, Chair Lang. I'm going to support the bill today. I do think it doesn't go far enough, but again, it's a great first step. We need to train kids immediately when they're coming to our schools, our preschools, just on how to behave, mentoring, coaching them, teaching them how to behave, so that one day when they do turn 11, that they know how to behave. And then when they go into 9th grade, they know how to behave in high school, as well as when they graduate from high school and can carry on a job and function in society in a job, working alongside people. And so the training needs to start when they're 3, 4, 5. Those that are parents oftentimes see that. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Buck. Anyone else? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Senator Flores, will you take this?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay,
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here and answering questions. Okay, so I was going to ask if there's anyone on the committee that wants to say anything before we take our recess for the day. Senator Flores.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to acknowledge some friends in the room. We have Corey Hernandez and Jamie and family. Their daughter, Maria Angel, is graduating from UNR, and they're here to celebrate. Long-term residents here of Nevada, absolute superstars. They're the type of folk in Northern Nevada that when there's a family that just moved in and they were having a hard time paying their bills, they'd call them. When there's a family that was trying to get a license for some business, they'd call them. When there's somebody who had questions about immigration issues, they'd call them. I think they're just an absolute staple in this community. Unfortunately, we lost them to Kentucky now. Kentucky is lucky to have them, but we've lost them. But I just wanted to acknowledge them. Really good friends, and really proud of the work you've done, and that your daughter is graduating.
Thank you for being here. So I just want to take a minute to acknowledge our staff. This is probably our last education meeting unless we get a referral coming out of one of the finance committees. And so I just want to recognize Jen and Kristen and the rest of Louise is somewhere around but they work really hard behind the scenes to make sure that these committee meetings happen and that they're organized and that we do a really good job. And they keep me very organized. So if you can give them a round of applause because I think they're terrific. And my LA Ruth, who's not is downstairs. She keeps me organized every day and works with our committee managers to make sure that we're getting the documents to everyone. And then this is Senator Hammond's last meeting. So I don't really talk about sentimental things too much because I get too sentimental. But everyone knows that Senator Hammond and I are very close friends, and it's going to be a real loss to me with him not here. And I'm really sad about that, but I think, when you look back over your years here, I hope that you'll look back at everything you've done to help education over the years. Because while we might not all agree on everything 100% of the time, you're doing it for the right reasons, and that's all that really matters at the end. And so we thank you so much for what you've brought to this committee over the years.
Thank you. I'm not going to say much more than that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Senator Nate.
Thank you so much, Chair Lang. I wanted to express my thank you to you, of course, this session, but also I wanted to just talk about Senator Hammond and all the stuff that he's done. Few things. Number one, I always joke with him that he corrupts me in education just because he sits next to me and then he plays pranks on me on the Senate floor. Him and Senator Flores do. But this was my first session actually sitting next to him. We didn't really have the chance to interact much last session because of COVID-19. And what I've learned just in the time frame that I've had the chance to serve with him is a man who is incredibly graceful with every interaction that he has. I don't know if folks have paid attention, but whenever there are kids that present in this committee or people who say that this is their first time presenting, while the rest of us are trying to figure out, are there questions that we can ask him, he's over here taking photos of them. And then the reason why he does is because after the hearing's done, he will go up to him and ask him, hey, let me send this photo of you because I captured a moment for you of your first time participating in the process. What we've seen in that engagement is he really has a deep admiration for kids, for families. He is an educator who believes in the right to education, to live a good life, that I think many legislators around this country oftentimes don't really think about. And with Senator Hammond, I think that we are really going to miss your leadership, not just on education, but the humor that you bring sometimes in hard conversations. And I think for me, it's going to be incredibly difficult to see our chair not have her best friend around. But I think it's encompassing of the person that you are, and we're really going to miss you. And thank you so much for your years of service, sir. Thank you.
Please. Thank you, Madam Chair. I did just want to say thank you to, first of all, the amazing staff. Obviously, nothing in this building works without you. Asher, you know that I have a tremendous amount of love and for appreciation for your legal skills. And Jan and everybody else, just thank you for keeping us organized, structured, working under the chaos that we often create and could have avoided had we just listened to you. And I realize that is what we do. We create chaos, and then you help us make it seem easy. So I wanted to say thank you to all our staff, but Madam Chair, it's been an absolute honor and pleasure serving alongside of you, seeing how you manage stress, how you work in very difficult scenarios, and you are soft, and yet you will cut somebody's throat when you have to. And I've seen it happen many times this session, and I appreciate that, because I appreciate that you can manage both and impose the fact that you are the chair, and this is your committee, and remind folk every time that that's how it works. And I appreciate your work. And just to Senator Hammond, I suspect that we'll be seeing you around. And I suspect that you'll continue to impact kids. I also suspect that it'd be nice to see you in a non-partisan, hardcore position and just see you do what you love without having that over your head. I think all of us at times, it's frustrating to operate in a building where you're a politician and you're a father and you're an educator and you're a man who cares and you're a man of faith and you're trying to navigate all that while everyone thinks they have the right to tell you what you got to do. So I appreciate the way you've approached things and your candor, and I can't wait to see what you're going to do next.
Senator Titus.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for a moment to also comment. First, I want to compliment you, Madam Chair, on the professionalism that you've shown in this committee, listening to all sides of the arguments and giving everybody a voice. Very much appreciated. This is my first time this is my 5th session, but my first time in education, and it has truly been interesting, and you've been very patient with many of my questions, and I definitely appreciate that. Senator Hammond, you are not only the sports guru in this facility, but also your commitment to education does not go unnoticed, and you are a champion for education and truly have earned the respect of both sides of the aisle, and certainly I've watched you on this committee and very much appreciate your activity in this. So, and staff, very patient with all of us, and I'm proud to be always the one that gets here first, I think, most of the time. So, but all of us together, I'm amazed at this committee, and I'm very happy that I'm on it, and thank you for allowing me to be here.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'll start with Senator Hammond and then I'll work backwards. So, well, yeah, I just realized that every time he gets on the camera, he is so close to me that I'm on the camera on the floor, and I'm just like, if you could just move further over. But no, I've been around you for a long time, so I really like who you are. You don't know this, but on one of my worst days, you made me laugh, which is very hard. I'm not a person that laughs. I mean, I have my own jokes of sarcasm and ridiculousness, but on it was one of my worst days in this building. And you've been always kind to me, and I appreciate you, and I know I'm going to see you again, whether or not it's in some dramatic outside of this building. But I'll miss you. I don't think people know what your actual heart, and you have one, and I know how much you like. You are truly a family man, and hopefully you're going to watch the Bollywood movie that I told you about. And so will eventually Edgar. But anyway. But it's been a pleasure, and I'm going to miss you. And we still have, the next, 15 days or 16 days to suffer. And yeah. And Chair Lang, I was with you on Commerce, but this is the first time I'm with you as a chairwoman. And you have been very graceful, and I appreciate the indulgence. We had a lot of hard bills in this committee, and we had a lot of thoughtful conversations, tough conversations, and I appreciate that you fostered the environment for us to have the tough conversation that we needed to have about our state and the education in the state of Nevada. And I know I know why you guys are friends. I know it's sports, but you're friends for other reasons. But you guys have very similar hearts to me, and that's why you're so close. But I appreciate being on this committee and the indulgence that you gave to me on this committee. And so I know I'm going to see you again, but thank you for allowing this committee to flourish the way that it did. and to Asher for just being awesome legally.
Thank you so much. Senator Buck.
Thank you so much, Chair Lang. I have to echo the thoughts and sentiments of all of you. Staff, you're incredible. Asher's able to pull something. He's like a human encyclopedia or NRS journal, I guess. And to all of you ladies, just keeping us all timely and here and chasing us down, that's great. To my colleague who's termed out, I'm really, it's been an honor to serve with you. And I look up to him as that he embraced when I entered this body and also served, and I enjoy seeing how you interact with others and the humor that you bring to most everything really lightens the journey, and I'm grateful for you. And also, Senator Lang, Chair Lang, thank you so much for the way that you conducted business in this committee. It was efficient, to the point, and we were able to hammer out some great things. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator Hammond.
I'll just speak to the folks here. My wife would be very upset if I didn't say something. I thought it was just going to be one person saying something, so I wasn't prepared for this at all. And so, life, we're going to have lots of disagreements, and it's going to happen all the time, but the reality is, you carry with you your relationships, and that's important. So thank you. If for some reason I've made an impact or have been able to have a chance to know everybody on this committee and the people who come all the time, and that's important to me, because that 20 years from now, that will matter. So thank you for the experiences, and thank you for a great committee, for a great session, and thank you for all the nice words. And thank you to the staff. I do a lot of this stuff just for you. You know that. A lot of times I just say things because I want to hear you laugh. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. And it means a lot. Yeah, I always tell my kids, I said, and you won't believe this, but I tell my kids I'd rather spend time with people I know than, spend 5 minutes or an hour with a celebrity that I don't have any clue with. I don't care about them that much. I really don't. I'd rather spend time with people I know, and that's you guys. Thank you.
Okay, so you can tell by all the emotion up here that as a committee, we've become very close. And while we agree to disagree on a lot of stuff, the fact that we work together so well has been just a joy to me, and it makes my job so much easier. And I think I mentioned this in another committee, but my committee bought me a gift, and they know, and you know, because I mentioned in the first meeting, how much I love the Seattle Mariners. And so they bought me an autographed jersey of Ken Griffey Jr., my favorite player. And today it was hung in my office, so I hope you'll all come down and take a peek, because you'll be really happy to see where it is, and everyone can see it when they come in my office. So with that, we are going to go into recess. We possibly will adjourn later in the day. It'll be call of the chair, so make sure you're paying attention. We're in recess.
You are in the meeting now. Okay, sound check time. Kim and waiting for Joe and LT. Just a moment. Hello. All right, sound check time. Sorry to interrupt. Counting off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. How do I sound to you, Kimberly?
Sounds perfect, sir. Loud and clear. I'll count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. How's that?
Sounding really good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. How's that?
I like it. LT.
You guys sound great in Vegas. Thank you.
Shh, that was too loud. Okay, let's lower LV, maybe just the mics or something. Maybe by 6. Okay, quick 5 count, Kim, Joe, and then LT.
Thank you, sir. Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Go for it.
Vegas mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That's more reasonable. How do we sound to you, LT?
You guys sound great. Perfect.
Okay, I see a full screen share.
I do not. You guys are frozen for Vegas.
Oh, lovely. Let's take away the screen share, see if we're visible. And then
You are visible now. Yes.
now we gotta wait a while as Kim is counting to herself. Like 15 seconds or something, I think. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, and we're there. Okay, try again. How about that?
Nope. You're still frozen. You froze again.
Okay, now we remove the Zoom and put it back, please, Don. And then we'll try again. Bye for a minute.
You are the first person to join the conference.
You are in the meeting now.
Okay. Counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Kim, Joe.
Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Joe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Do you hear that, LT?
Yes, so he must have gave you the 6 that he turned us, that we were before, because now you're extremely loud.
Great.
So if I could get you turned down 3, so if I could get Carson only turned down 3, please.
I think you need to turn down 2, so let's turn her down 2. Everybody go down a little bit. That would be great. This is a fun one. While we're doing that, can we get a little screen share and see if she's frozen?
Everybody see
Vegas
it?
can see the screen share.
Beautiful. Look, we
you.
did it. Okay, now
Yay.
he's also fixed the volume, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How is that?
Okay, now I apologize, you're a little too low, so if I can go up 2, please.
This is a fun game. I like this game. Hello. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How is this volume? LT. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, I'm sorry, can you count again for me, please?
1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 5. Now I can't hear you.
Sorry, it sounds like there was no change, so if I can get you turned up 1.5, please.
One sec. He's done it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Counting normally, counting like a person.
And that is perfect, thank you so much.
And now Kimberly and Joe talk, please.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And passing it on.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I think that's a great success. I think everyone sounds great. How about you, LT? That's a thumbs up.
Yes, I think that everyone sounds great. Zoom and Carson, thank you guys.
Wow, we did it. Okay, thanks everyone.
I'm reconvening Senate Education for the hearing of one bill in work session, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Gaynor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jen Storm Gaynor, Committee Policy Analyst. Next bill on work session today is Assembly Bill 339, which is sponsored by Assemblywoman Miller et al. And was heard on May 1st. The bill requires certain annual accountability reports on pupil achievement to include information on pupils who have accrued 10 or more absences within the school year, and pupils who received at least 4 consecutive weeks of instruction in a core academic subject from someone other than a licensed teacher, unless certain prohibitions apply. This information must be reported separately by gender and for groups identified in the statewide system of accountability for public schools. And at this time, there are no proposed amendments. Madam Chair.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved, amend and do pass Senate Bill 339.
Do pass.
Excuse me, just do pass.
I have a do pass from Senator Flores, a second. Senator, beg your pardon? Senator Neal, seconds. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, there are noes from Hammond, Buck, and Titus, and the motion carries. Okay. The floor statement, let's give that to Senator Flores.
Got it?
Okay, with that, we'll adjourn. Oh, we have to do public comment, I guess. Anyone up here? Anyone in the south? Nope. Anyone on the phones, BPS?
Thank you, Chair. The public line is open and working, but there are no callers wishing to provide public comment at this time.
Okay, and with that, we'll adjourn Senate Education.